Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. I didn't really know which way to go as I record this Sunday night, and I utilize this as my Sunday night, Monday morning pod, which, by the way, it's not just YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts as well. So make sure you go on over there, check out Sports Talk with Broads, leave a nice 5-star rating. Just throwing it out there. It helps a lot. But yeah, I mean, look, this past weekend and really Thursday, Friday, even before Saturday and Sunday, it was all about March Madness. It was nuts. It was bonkers. You see a 16 seed beat a 1. You see Princeton go on a little bit of a run. It was unbelievable. And throughout that, there was bits and pieces of Philadelphia sports news, but nothing monstrous, right? Isaac Seumalo for the Eagles leaves and goes to Pittsburgh, but we kind of thought that was going to happen anyway. Trey Turner in the World Baseball Classic hits a grand slam in the quarterfinals with an 0-2 count. That was unreal. But at the end of the day, there wasn't anything huge. And I figured I want to dive into the Flyers, weirdly enough, because there's a couple topics I want to hit on. Marcus Hayes of the Inquirer brought something up about how Chuck Fletcher was fired, and I have a fantastic question for you all. Does it matter how he got fired? If at the end of the day, the biggest and most important thing is he's no longer in this front office. All right, we'll dive more into that. There was a report that Cutter Gauthier might end up going back to Boston College. How do I feel about it? We'll find out. Tyson Foerster, Owen Tippett, some other stuff that happened over the weekend. So that's a lot, right? That's a lot right there, and we'll kind of start at the top. So Marcus Hayes put something out, and it said that Dave Scott did not consult with Barber, with Clark, or with Homer before firing Chuck and hiring Danny Briere. Here's my reaction to that piece. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want those three to have any sort of relevance with the Philadelphia Flyers. So for me, why do they need to know? If they don't have their fingerprints on things, if they're not really in charge, which we're told by a lot of people, they're not really doing much. It's funny. There's a bunch of people who cover the team that say those three have a lot of power. And then there's other people who are around the team, and they say, oh, come on, it's all Chuck Fletcher. Oh, come on. It's definitely not those three. They just deserve to have the respect that they have because of what they did for Ed Snyder and what they did when they were on the ice. Shut up. Shut the hell up. They are a problem. They are an issue. I'm not trying to tell you that Dave Scott is somebody that I believe in, because I don't think Dave Scott has any clue on what he's doing either. But every once in a blue moon, somebody who's not very intelligent does something that's right. It doesn't mean that they go about it the right way. It doesn't mean that they follow the proper steps to get the right end result, but you get lucky. You find the nut once in a while. Dave Scott was right to not go back to the little boys club and not go back to the three guys up top to run through what they would do, because they all love Chuck, because they all respect Chuck, because they all thought Chuck wasn't doing a bad job, when Chuck is one of the biggest reasons why. Chuck and those three, it's like all four of them. All four were problematic. So for Dave Scott to skip by those three and say, Chuck, you're out of here, I think it's beautiful. And I don't think that maybe he didn't do it because of the right reasons. Maybe he did it because he just realized the fan pressure and he wanted people in the building, and he thought maybe doing it when he did and the way that he did would have some fans back in the building to check out some of the young kids at the backstretch of the season. I don't know why he did it. Quite frankly, I don't care why. All I'm here to tell you is something that needed to happen happened. There's a lot more. And there's a lot of tougher decisions, like Danny Briere, for example. Here's what I love about Danny. He's getting in the face of everybody, and he's letting you know. everywhere, whether it's Flyers pregame live, whether it's an interview on The Fanatic, on the John Kincaid show, whether it's his press conference. Every single time he's had an opportunity to talk about where they are, to talk about what this team needs to do, to talk about the journey that's about to happen over the next couple of years, there's a legitimacy to his plan. And I love it, even with that interim tag. Danny Briere needs to make a statement by doing something very big, by trading someone. Carter Hart, Travis Konechny. It's got to be loud. Talk is great, but you actually have to act on it. And all he can do right now at this very moment is give a speech and spew words. But as this thing gets rolling here, nice and early, I want him to let the whole entire fan base know we mean business. It's not going to be easy, and I'm going to have to make hard, tough decisions. We have to do it to speed up this process. It's unfortunate, but this is where Chuck Fletcher left us. This is where the past regime handed it off. You've been begging for a goalie for a billion years. You finally have the goalie, and the kid's a superstar. The kid is a stud, and he's so damn legit. But finally you get it, and everybody else surrounding him is falling apart completely. It's just how it goes. But that's my eyesight on it, and kind of my breakdown. Yeah, we know there's all sorts of wacky stuff happening up top of the front office. It is what it is. What's the end goal here? So Dave Scott, who's probably going to retire, didn't follow the proper channels, and I'll use air quotes here because there really isn't supposed to be, air quotes, proper channels through old school Flyers. And he went over all their heads and elected Danny Briere and gave him the interim tag and said, this is what we're going to do. Dave Scott hasn't done a lot right. He might have blindly picked something here and got lucky with it. But I'm okay with it to this point. Because we know the alternative wasn't working. What were we supposed to do? Ask Clarkey? Ask these guys who have too much respect for Chuck Fletcher? What should happen? Oh, let him ride it out. Yeah, the reason why he probably was here as long as he was because of those fools. He was supposed to get canned sometime around Christmas. He was supposed to get canned, but then the team started to go on that little win streak when they were beating up on some really bad opponents. And I don't blame the players because when they're out there on the ice, you got to go balls to the wall and compete. Or else Tortsy's not going to play you. And just from a competitive nature standpoint, that's what you have to do. It's not their fault Chuck put them in this position. So when you're out there on the ice, you just got to go make your plays. But, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I don't care that apparently Dave Scott did it this way. But, anything that makes this look more comical gets a certain type of reaction. I'm looking at the end result here. And it's not apples to apples every single time. But when you're this dysfunctional and when you're this out of control, well, I mean, come on. We're almost grading the test on a scale. I don't like the fact that there's clearly miscommunication happening up top. But right now, there's 5 billion puzzle pieces. I don't even know if they go to the same puzzle. You got a puzzle that's 500 pieces, another puzzle that's 300 pieces, and these things are all combined on a table. And I know Chuck Fletcher, there's a third puzzle piece that doesn't even fit into this at all. That's Chuck Fletcher. Put that one in the damn trash. And that's what we got. All right? All right. So what else happened over the weekend with this team? I'll tell you. Tyson Foerster got himself his first assist in a beatdown against Buffalo. Going to the net hard. There was a nice pass backdoor. Couldn't bury. They stay with it. Joel Farabee, who hasn't scored in a billion years, finds it on the far post and puts it in. But Foerster getting up in the play, going to the net hard, forcing a golden opportunity on a nice rush there. It didn't go in the way that maybe you draw it up, but it's just about getting to the right areas, working hard, beating the defenseman to the post, and you get some nice puck luck involved to get your first assist. Then you go to the next night, second half of a back-to-back. He's coming down the wall a little bit, not coming down the wall, actually. He was more inside the dots. But he came down. He could have passed it. Instead, he rips it. Low blocker, finds Twine. Awesome. Great shot. That's what he can do. He can let it rip. He can score a bunch of goals. His celebration was incredible. And he followed that up on a 5-on-3. We know this power play has been abysmal, so I had no idea what it was going to do. But he get a two-man advantage. Please tell me he could do something. He fires one. They put in the rebound. And he picked up another assist. So he's got 3 points in his last 2 games. I don't know what Tyson Foerster is. First game I liked. Game after that, not so much. He's definitely playing more confidently. Playing more freely. I think he's getting accustomed to it. Everyone has their own path, right? Just because some guys step right in and dominate, other guys take a little bit of time. It's a feel-out process. Everyone's different. He's still super young, but I know that the last couple of days he's produced on the box score, and I think that also adds to feeling great about yourself. You know, feeling more comfortable, that's fine. You start to put up some points and produce a little, well, it starts to even grow and grow and grow with your confidence level. I think the dude's got a fantastic shot. And as much as this team is hard to watch, and there's a lot of unlikable pieces, and the franchise is unlikable, I'm a diehard hockey guy, so I'd be watching probably regardless, even if it's off on the secondary TV. With the March Madness tournament going on, there's a bunch of TVs, but I make sure I had the Flyers on the one on the side just so I can kind of keep my eye on it. He's part of the reason why I'm doing that. He's got that level of interest from me. So I can't tell you exactly what I think he is because I really don't know yet. I know in theory what he's supposed to be. I think at times I see that awkward skating that was being talked about at the time of the draft. I also see the hockey IQ. I see the smarts. I see the willingness to buy in. I see him doing the little things at times. And I can see his mind working and generating offense. It's a different world, though. Physically, I've watched him a few times get barreled over, get hit pretty good, bounced off the puck. That stuff happens, though. He's not the only one that stood out to me. Owen Tippett's hat trick was great. Some outstanding goals. The third one, the backhand on the breakaway, ew. The pass from Kevin Hayes to him, back door, ew. The first goal with a beautiful snipe, ew. Owen Tippett could light the lamp. I'm very, very impressed, and I'm very, very pleasantly surprised. You get a project a lot in sports when you make certain trades. He was drafted high in a different organization. They couldn't really figure him out. They move on from him. I'll put it to you this way. In sports, we see it work out for other teams. When was the last time something like that happened to the Flyers? And keep in mind, I didn't blame Claude Giroux because of his relationship with Chuck Fletcher and how sour it got. But he forced the Flyers with basically one team in mind. This is all you have. You have Florida. So get what you can get. I'm going to Florida. We thought maybe there'd be more teams. We thought maybe Colorado. No. Florida. I'm going to Florida. Which screws the negotiations. But keep in mind, I think Chuck Fletcher did this to himself. He was the one to force Claude Giroux to kind of play this game and to be in that mindset. It got ugly fast between them. Anyway, for Owen Tippett, with your hands tied behind your back, to have this type of season for his first full season after the deadline acquisition last season, it's phenomenal. He's another guy right now that I'm enjoying watch. Look, my bar moved. Once again, I'm grading on a scale. So I could only get, I'm not even going to use the word excited, but I could only watch with such certain expectations anymore. And for what this team has become, which is the most disappointing thing I've ever seen in my life in regards to sports fandom in this city in my 27 years, I'm at least grabbing on to a couple players. Noah Cates has really moved the needle for me, weirdly, in a way that you got to watch the finer details. Owen Tippett, the Hattie. There's something to his game. Not everyone's going to be a 30-goal scorer, 40-goal scorer. We still need star players, and I still demand them to get someone who can change around a franchise, someone who, is at the top level to get people in the barn. With that said, your full roster won't be completed with that from top to bottom. You need a goal scorer who can be 20 to 25 range. Young. Some youth. You need those range of players too. So I'm keeping it within the realm of what I think they can be. So if I think Owen Tippett could be a 20 to 25 goal scorer as they continue this process to get better talent and still have my demand that they get someone insanely talented, that they get top-line performers, because I don't think they have any. I'm sorry, but I have question marks on Sean Couturier. I don't think Cam Atkinson and Travis Konechny are top-line players. So you have zero. So when I'm watching Owen Tippett and using the word excited to at least watch him and watch Foerster, it's within range of, well, do we have a 20 to 25 goal scorer type of guy? Which is a great role, which is important. If Owen Tippett's playing on my third line, I'm pumped. Problem is, he's going to be playing top 6 minutes for years. Because you have to. Kind of sucks. I find myself doing this all the time when thinking about these players. Is where they're playing now, because of the roster and because of how poor it is, compared to who they really are. And every time it's worse. It just puts it in perspective. Just like that loss to Carolina puts it in perspective on how terrible they are. Defensive zone coverage. Guys are wide open in the slot. How does Sebastian Aho get that wide open? How do you forget where he is? Couple shots in the slot. You're leaving your goalie out to dry. And don't even get me started on the final goal with 0.3, 0.2 seconds left. 2 guys in front of the net wide open. And then you get danced in overtime as soon as the puck is dropped. It sucks they got a point. I actually bet Carolina, too. I lost a lot of money this past weekend on March Madness. I bet some UFC. Don't forget about UFC was in there. Usman versus Leon Edwards. The trilogy. I thought the fight sucked. Gaethje's fight, the co-main, was way more entertaining. But I parlayed the Carolina Hurricanes with Kansas. Kansas ended up losing, which screwed me. Arkansas won. And I was like, who cares? The Flyers won anyway, because at one point they came back and they had the lead after falling down early. I'm like, come on, the one time I actually put my hard-earned cash on this team, they're going to win. But, oh, my God, they ended up losing, and I was so stoked. But Kansas lost anyway, so I didn't even benefit from it. Every single way I can get screwed from this franchise, you know it's going to happen. That's embarrassing. It's good. It's good because I want to keep losing. Beating Buffalo as badly as they did stung. Keep losing, keep losing, keep losing. Give us every high percentage chance, or the highest percentage chance, to land Connor Bedard, even though it's a super far stretch. Just get me one of the super skilled players at the top of this draft. And losing does that. The all-important point kills you. But, it's better than winning that hockey game in regulation, in my opinion. That's where we're at. But yeah, Foerster, 3 points. Farabee finally scoring. I have faith in him to bounce back next season. I do. And then Owen Tippett. Those are all good stuff. And there's a new prospect kind of in the way. Now, the American way to say this is Alexis Gendron. Gendron. I listened to a lot of French Canadian. He plays in the Q. He was their 7th round pick in 2022. Alexis Grandal. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. I'm trying to be French Canadian, even though I'm not. But anyway, I've heard the American way. I've heard the French way. Here's what I know. He's got 52 goals in 59 games in the queue. Now, Chris reached out to me on Twitter because I was getting all stoked about the kid, and he said, Broads, the Q is one of the worst junior leagues in Canada. Stop putting a lot of hype into him. It's not one of the worst leagues. No. What it is it's an offensive league. But right now, at 19 years old, he's second in the league with 52 goals. And the kid who's above him leading the league has 7 more games played for his leading, I think he's got 59 goals. I took a screenshot of it. The league leader had 56 goals in 66 games. And Alexis, we'll go with the Canadian, the American, even though it's probably Alexi. 52 goals in 59 games. Look, far shot. I texted someone and I got a response that kind of poo-pooed it. I'm kind of having fun with it, like stupid fun, just being a jerk off. And that's how I even started the text when I wanted to reach out about him. I said, listen, 2022, 7th rounder, call me a jerk off, but I'm all in. He said, someone has scored 52 goals in the queue 335 times. He's the 38th player since 2000. Of this 38, the guys who have had any semblance of an NHL career are 7 players. Of those 7 players, Mike Hoffman and one other were drafted after the 3rd round. So basically, he's got 1 of 38 chance. Does that get you excited? LOL. So he's kind of raining on my parade. 52 goals is impressive. Being a 7th rounder is a far shot. It is. Look, we're so down bad. Here I am kind of being obnoxious about a prospect that I have no idea what he's going to turn into. I just think we should keep our radar out, our eye on the radar. That's all. I looked up his, and of course I accidentally exited out, his scouting report so we can get a little taste on this is me just planting the seed. Do with it what you will. I'm not saying he's going to be outstanding. I'm just saying do with it what you will. He does an excellent job using the space that is given to him. If he doesn't have a ton of open ice in front of him to utilize, he will pass underneath the stick of the blade of the attacker when the attacker tries to close in on him. When he's skating into the offensive zone along the boards, he will pass underneath the triangle and the stick blade on long-range and short-range passes. In addition to utilizing the space he's given, his decision-making is quick. If he has quality passing lanes to use, he doesn't think twice. He's always scanning and looking for good passing lanes to leverage. When driving up the wing, he spots teammates with more speed coming down the center ice. He will complete a quality feed to the teammate. He loves to find passing lanes backdoor, but he isn't picky. Any passing opportunity to high danger is good with him. Okay, so I guess that could be a little bit of a slap in the face to a degree. I want to see if I can get something more along the shooting the puck concept here, as he's got a lot of goals. When on the forecheck, they want to see him working on cutting inside more consistently when going after loose pucks. You will see him struggle to push past the attacker in tight battles. He has the speed from a skate extension that allows to get him in position to win battles, but he just needs to work on pushing with his upper body towards the shoulder to force the attacker to sit on the outside looking in. Has excellent range on his shot. He can generate snapshot goals from medium danger, deliver wrist shot goals from the perimeter, and capitalize at the doorstep after setting himself up backdoor, and he's got good puck manipulation at the crease that forces the goaltender to open up gaps for him to use. He's got height on his shots from range and transfers his weight over his knee to net the power that he needs to rip his shot. While he does possess a great shot, he works hard to create those goal-scoring opportunities. He does so even when he doesn't have possession of the puck. All right. Now, defensively, I won't go too much into detail here. He won't be rather assertive when defending. That's just not his style. There's a lot to it. Of course, that's the stuff you're gonna have to kind of learn in the 7th-round draft pick. It's a far, 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 far shot. but this is the projection. In terms of projection, I can see him being an effective middle six role at the NHL level. He has the speed and vision to get himself in the right spots in the neutral zone to gain control of the puck and then gain separation from other players to create breakaway opportunities or an odd man rush. On top of that, his desire to penetrate the slot with pass after pass to create danger. The next step in his development is to become slightly more assertive and physical. If he can acquire that, he will earn more ice time. We're down bad that I'm now picking at 7th round draft picks and Cutter Gauthier. Cutter Gauthier, also 19, led Boston College in points. 32 games played, 16 goals, 37 points. And that, of course, doesn't even include the 7 games he played in the World Juniors for 4 goals and 10 points. There was a report about no final decision on Cutter Gauthier yet. The Flyers and his agent did speak, but reading the tea leaves, it looks like he's going to return to Boston College. Probably what's best for him, but just knowing how much I want to see him play and I want to see him progress pretty quickly, I'm a little bummed that he's not maybe taking that stride to go play for the Phantoms. He's by far the most dominant player out on the ice. I think I mentioned this when I just went over that Danny Briere podcast we most recently did. I'm pretty sure I did. I watched him play Merrimack, and in overtime with under a minute to go, he hit the post. Unfortunately, they ended up losing in double overtime. And speaking of college hockey, dude, Rhett Pitlick on Minnesota, I watched the entire Big Ten Conference Championship game Saturday night. Holy hell, if you did not see his goal to take the lead in that game, Michigan ended up winning the whole thing, but oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Go watch it. Rhett Pitlick. And watching Cooley skate around the ice. I can't wait for some college hockey tournament action because Minnesota's must watch with Cooley. I want Cooley. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, I want players like that. Can Cutter Gauthier get there? I don't know. Cutter, I think he was the best player a lot of the times all around. Whenever I watch Boston College playing, with your ESPN Plus package, the amount of college hockey I've watched is kind of sickening, and I don't even want to admit it. For some reason, that's one of my guilty pleasures. Even if it's Colgate. I'll watch Colgate play St. Lawrence in the ECAC. I'll go watch some Atlantic hockey with Mercyhurst. Or I'll watch, RIT, RPI, Princeton hockey, another ECAC. Maybe they're playing Clarkson. I don't know. I'm sick in the head. I think he'll just absolutely dominate BC all over again. But let's say he had 32 games this year. He had 37 points. If he could give you 50-plus points next year in 30-something games. But the thing is, now we're looking a couple years out. So one more at BC, then a year at the Phantoms. A few years until we see him. Which, is not anything terrible. Like, that's normal. But when I go back to wanting a player who can just come in and be, you can't miss this guy play. He might get there. He may come up and be 21, 22, 23. And that might be him. But I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I want something now. Maybe I'm just being too greedy. We got some calls, anytime hotline. We'll run through some things, some texts as well.
I think the youth looks hopeful, but everyone's still, I think, caught up in the whole, they're still hiring the Flyers, hence Danny Briere. My one hope in that is that he knows modern-day hockey, unlike Bobby Clark and those guys, so got to cross your fingers.
I'm okay with Danny. I am. I think he's a smart hockey mind, and I think he's doing it the right way. I think he went about it the right way with where he's at right now, and I think you should feel comfortable that he sees it needs to be stripped. Don't get too caught up with the words that he used. It's not a fire sale. There's still some young players here. There's also a part of that where he's saying it to the room. Cam York, young player who was recently drafted. Joel Farabee. There's some guys that he wants them to hear that. They hear that, trust me. Players in the locker room, there was whispers all along about Chuck. There was a lot of things that were going south in the room, and you start to chatter, you start to talk. Torch says some things publicly. They hear everything Torch says. There's a reason behind it all. The reason that Danny Briere used some of the words in his original press conference wasn't because he wasn't committing to a full-on grind. He's ready for the full-on grind. But there's a few pieces that do stay that are super young. He's unwilling to move. Not unwilling. Unwilling's the wrong word, but just it would take a lot more to nudge. There's reasons to say that. Keep some guys calm. Whether you say, like, well, they shouldn't be. Cam York shouldn't be comfortable. Cam York shouldn't feel calm. He should feel the pressure or, whatever. It just is what it is. It's a different world these days. These athletes are coddled different. I think what Danny Briere did to say, well, it's not going to be a full-on fire sale. I think he wanted a couple players to hear that. Just a couple. Just a couple guys. And maybe he even pulled them aside, like to Noah Cates, for example. Noah, don't worry about it, man. We love you. Apparently him and John Tortorella were in meetings for hours together, talking about who they want to keep here during this whole thing. Even if it's 2 or 3 guys, those words could have meant just for them. They might even told him about it. Danny's got it. I believe Danny's got it. The only reason why I didn't want Danny when we were talking about this earlier is just for the Flyers tie thing. But I let that get out of my system. Hockey-wise, putting in the time, I'm a fan. And I wouldn't even mind if Robert Ashe gets the call to be the president of Hockey Ops. That's sort of where my mind is. I'd be cool if that was the direction they went in.
Yo, what's up, bros? Honestly, I don't know anything about hockey, but I'm trying to learn. So if you can explain what's going on with the Flyers in like baseball or NFL terms, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Well, I appreciate you getting into the hockey world. Tough time because this Flyers team stinks, but I guess maybe you could take pride in them being awesome. Take pride in, being here through this time when they do get awesome. It's like, oh yeah, I jumped on board when it was one of the worst times we've ever seen. They're the Cleveland Browns. They're the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're willing to spend money. Pittsburgh isn't willing to spend money. They spend money in the wrong ways, but that's who they are. See, I was thinking for a little there, that are they the Phillies? Under John Middleton, Matt Klentak, and Andy McPhail. The difference is Bryce Harper was here, JT Realmuto was here, Rhys Hoskins was here. You don't have any sort of build like that. And they were still going 500, even though most people would say that Flyers hockey has been more of that, just neutral, middle-of-the-pack type of hockey for a little bit of time. But it's way worse. What we just went through, and it's worse. It's Cleveland Browns. We got to dig out of a Cleveland Browns spot. They haven't been as bad as the Cleveland Browns 0-16 type season. Not to that level, but in regards to just out of control, it's that. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's basically who the Flyers are right now. But come on, join the party. I prefer everyone to join the Flyers. So when it gets amazing, you'll be here. Some texts. I know we're kind of running over here. We're 30 minutes in. Kyle says, I saw your tweet and want to throw in my opinion. It does matter that Dave Scott fired Chuck without communicating with everyone. What business flows the right way with so much dysfunction still in-house? Chuck sucks, Dave sucks. Now I'm supposed to say Dave is right? I can't ever say that. He ruined my life and he ruined the Flyers. Seems like a very emotional text message. Not that you're not allowed to be emotional during this time. You absolutely are. What did you say? When they're still in-house. You said, yeah, what business flows the right way with dysfunction that's still in-house? Dave Scott's not going to be in-house. I don't think Dave Scott's going to be a part of this after the season's over. So, as mentioned from the top, don't think they got here right. They got here, though. And if Dave's no longer here, then the dysfunction in-house. The dysfunction in-house are the 3 guys that he didn't communicate with, that he overleaped, that he jumped over. They're just as part of the issue as anybody else is. So they need to go. They all need to go. Everyone needs to go. And CJ, Owen Tippett is a new player here. This is so awesome. Do you think he can score over 30 goals a year? What do you see him as, knowing the Flyers are pivoting? 30 goals a year? The 20 to 25 is more like it. I could see him maybe being a player where he flirts in a 30, but not every year. I don't think he's an every year 30 guy. It's a lot of goals. I don't know if Owen Tippett's that. And if he becomes that, that's awesome. I think he's a 20 to 25 style of player. Keep in mind, if he's playing less minutes, if the Flyers ever get good and he's still here, let's say, if he's a third line role, you're not playing as many minutes. Right now, they haven't been scoring many power play goals, but a lot of these young kids have been thrown on the power play. When you get better talent, who was on the power play, less chances to score, things like that. So, no, I don't think he's a 30-goal scorer every season. I don't personally. If he is, that means he's probably playing a lot, which means your team's probably not very good. No knock on him. I don't see him like that style of player. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'd be very happy to be wrong. 30's a lot. I don't see him being 30. All right. We'll shut her down. Thank you guys so much. Hanging out with me, Flyers hockey, huh? Who would have thought? Still talking about it. Until we get what we want, we'll just be bitching. Thank you guys. Catch you on the next show.